Chargers fans, today the franchise moved the chessboard just like we imagined. There was a last-minute move on the offensive line, a return to the roster that could change the game plan, a painful decision involving the preseason sensation, and a rookie thrown into maximum pressure. All of it hits the opener in Brazil and the season's tempo. Who's going to protect our QB? Who carries the rock when things get tight? And who pays the price for these choices? You won't believe what we've got today. So sit down, hit that like button, and let's dive straight into the news. You know that final minute when everyone holds their breath because one decision can rewrite the week? That's exactly how it felt in Costa Mesa when the front office realized the offensive line map needed a new route. The plan was to survive with patches until the dust settled, but reality hit. Without reliable insurance on the edges, the risk of seeing the offense unravel grew with every snap, and that's when a bold move separates teams that merely react from those that shape their own fate. Jim Harbaugh and Joe Hortiz didn't wait for luck to fix it. With Rashawn Slater dealing with an injury and Trey Pipkins kicked out to hold down the right side as a starter, the margin for error vanished. The message was clear: protecting the quarterback is non-negotiable. While plenty of folks dreamed of a miracle on the waiver wire, the front office chose to pay to see it. The result, a buzzer-beating deal with the Houston Texans for Austin DeCulis in exchange for a conditional 2027 seventh-rounder. It's not glamorous, it's survival. Why does it matter this much? Because DeCulis arrives with real preseason snaps at left tackle, knows the heat of facing edge rushers at full speed, and brings something the roster lost when pieces shifted, anchoring experience and protection call communication. By opting for a trade, the team also admitted an uncomfortable truth. They couldn't count on him sliding through waivers. That's a lesson from the recent past. When the whole league is hunting tackles, blink and you come up empty-handed. The domino effect was immediate. Branson Taylor was cut from the initial 53, opening space for an immediate, if imperfect, solution. DeCulis isn't here to be a star. He's here to steady the edge, cut down hits on the QB, and keep the playbook open. Interested? That changes how you call third downs. If protection holds for a half-second longer, more ambitious route combos are on the menu. Screens aren't panic calls, and the run game stops being predictably confined to inside gaps. On the field, step one is adding help with tight end and running back chips, using condensed splits to shorten the arc for pass rushers. DeCulis knows that package and speeds up protection communication. If he provides a stable floor, Harbaugh can lean into 12 personnel without telegraphing runs, unlocking play action and rhythm RPOs. And if Slater's recovery takes longer than expected, the team already has a functional plan B without butchering the playbook in the week of the game in Brazil. And the fan base split as always. One side loves the aggression. Finally, we're treating the OL like a priority. The other sees risk in spending future capital on a name without Pro Bowl pedigree. Both sides have a point. The staff's counter: low cost, high potential gain, and most of all, the clock doesn't stop. With the game in Brazil around the corner and the Chiefs on the other sideline, every snap without a collapse is gold. And that wasn't even the most surprising part of the day. When it felt like the O-line tension had already sucked all the air out of the room, news lit a spark of immediate hope on offense. Najee Harris is officially back on the 53-man roster, breaking months of silence away from practice. The running back, who was staring at a 4-game absence if he'd remained on the NFI list, is now cleared to set his sights on the historic matchup against the Chiefs in Brazil. Just having his name back on the roster changes the math of the offensive plan, and let's be honest, changes the mood of a restless fan base. Think about the weight of that move. Without Harris, the staff would have opened the season leaning on rookies and reserves, risking early exposure against the AFC champions. With him back, even on a pitch count, the run game gains credibility. Defenses have to respect the box, which gives our quarterback breathing room and makes play action more than a bluff. It's the difference between playing with your back against the wall and dictating the pace of the downs. But hold on, it's not a lock yet. Harris still has to prove on the practice field that his body is ready. There are 9 days until Brazil, and every rep with a protective vest. Every burst in running drills will be watched closely. GM Joe Hortiz already hinted he was hopeful, and seeing the front office clear roster space by cutting 2 running backs confirms the bet. Raheem "Rocket" Sanders, the preseason sensation, hit waivers. Nyheim Miller-Hines, meanwhile, was released straight to free agency. Tough calls, but necessary to pave the way for the veteran. The most intriguing detail is the shape of the backfield. Omarion Hampton, the 2025 first-round pick, is a stone-cold lock. The expectation is he forms an explosive tandem with Harris, blending power with field vision. Behind them, Kamani Vidal and Hassan Haskins are still fighting to cement their spots, but the reminder is clear. Last year, the team kept 4 RBs on the initial roster. Repeating that formula could be key while Harris ramps up. Fans, of course, are split between the excitement of seeing him back and the fear of rushing it. Picture the psychological impact, too. Facing the Chiefs with Harris in uniform sends a message that Los Angeles didn't travel to Brazil to be extras. Even if he plays limited snaps, the energy shifts. The locker room feels the Stars' return, and that boosts confidence across the O-line, quarterbacks, and coordinators. The opponent can't ignore the ground game anymore, has to redraw blitzes, has to spend a spy. It's a cascade that starts with the announcement and only grows to kickoff. And while we exhale with relief at his return, reality hits again to open that precious spot. Promising youngsters paid the price. That's where the preseason drama stings even more. Every year the story repeats itself. A preseason hero wins over the crowd, steals breaths in games that don't count much, and then doesn't survive the final cut. This time, the name that became the face of that drama was Raheem "Rocket" Sanders. Signed as an undrafted free agent, he lit up limited snaps with 101 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 29 receiving yards on short passes. From the outside, it looked like the start of a fairy tale, but in the NFL's cruel reality, August shine doesn't guarantee a ticket to September. Those numbers weren't enough against the cold equation of a roster that had to make room for veterans. Sanders' cut isn't just the loss of a young talent, it's a mirror of how the staff is prioritizing experience at a critical moment. With Harris back on the roster, the logic was obvious. The franchise wasn't going to stash a developing rookie while trying to balance the offense for an opener against the reigning AFC champs. Pure pragmatism, even if it hurts. Fan reaction showed the emotional weight. Many flooded social media begging to see him return via the practice squad, seeing not only potential in the kid, but a new spark that could reshape the backfield down the road. Others, more cautious, remind us that preseason can fool you. How many August darlings disappear against starters in September? The debate is intense, but the common ground is clear. No one wants to lose Sanders for nothing if a rival decides to claim him on waivers. Here's another strategic layer. The front office knows there's a real risk he becomes an instant value pickup for another team. His raw talent and near zero cost make him attractive to rebuilding franchises. If he clears, Los Angeles should move fast to bring him back to the practice squad, preserving continuity and keeping an ace tucked away for when the season's wear and tear hits. After all, running back is one of the most injury-prone positions, and Sanders could be called up any week if the rotation thins out. Practically speaking, the decision also hints at the staff's near-term vision. The absolute priority right now is to stabilize the spine of the team. A healthy Harris and confidence in the QB. The space for medium-range bets drops to the back burner at least until the opener dust settles. Even so, cutting Sanders doesn't close the door. It might just be the first chapter of a story the fan base has already bought into. And if you thought that was the toughest goodbye on the roster, brace yourself. What's next involves a recent draft pick, and the controversy only gets louder. When it felt like emotions were already maxed out, the week's toughest blow landed. The franchise decided to move on from a recent draft. Charquez Bridges, a 7th-round cornerback, didn't survive final cuts after a string of concerning preseason outings. For many fans, seeing such a fresh pick discarded so quickly is almost culture shock. Expectations were that he'd at least have time to grow inside the roster. But the NFL doesn't wait, and patience can last less than one summer. What weighed against Bridges? The numbers tell the story without mercy. In 4 games, he was targeted 16 times and allowed 12 catches for 21s and a touchdown. He also gave up 49 yards after the catch and committed 2 penalties that cost drives. His Pro Football Focus grade was 49.6, and here's the kicker. Most of those snaps came against backups, not elite starters. That's the type of data that triggers alarms for a staff building a defense that wants to play physical under Jesse Minter. It's not fair to say the team saw nothing in Bridges. If there weren't potential, he wouldn't have been drafted. The problem is the classic gap between raw talent and immediate readiness. And for a team that opens with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, there's simply no room for leaks on the perimeter. Harbaugh's message was blunt. The roster needs corners who not only know the playbook but execute with discipline in September. Unfortunately, Bridges didn't show that consistency. There's still a path. The idea is to bring him back on the practice squad if he goes unclaimed on waivers. In that controlled environment, he can go up daily against WRs like Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston, taking practical lessons that accelerate his growth. The ideal scenario, spend a year learning under veterans such as Tarheeb Still and Dante Jackson, adding strength and processing speed before making another run at a roster spot in 2026. It's a medium-term bet that could still pay off. The fan base split. Some accepted the cold calculus on a team with big ambitions. You can't carry rookies who wobble. Others saw it as wasteful to cut loose a player who could be developed with patience. And that sparks the bigger question. How long do you insist on raw talent when the pressure to win now is screaming? That's the cruel balance that shapes August decisions. So between veteran arrivals, star returns, and cuts that sting the heart, the Chargers' week turned into a roller coaster. But it's all just prep for what really matters, the season opener that will test whether these choices were masterstrokes or fatal errors. Chargers fan, look at the roller coaster we just rode. An emergency move to reinforce the offensive line, the long-awaited return of Najee Harris, the painful cut of a preseason darling, and even a drafted rookie who couldn't handle the squeeze. Each headline shook not only the locker room, but the fan base's heart. Bottom line, this roster is being shaped by tough choices, necessary ones to face the challenge that starts in Brazil against the Chiefs. So do you believe the Chargers made the right calls? Drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, and let's ride this season together. There will be no shortage of emotion.